Hey YouTube fans, this is the Backyard Professor. Hey, I'm going to introduce my biblical Hebrew videos with this introduction video. What I want to do is explain what I'm doing with this Hebrew so that you can understand my methodology. This idea of reading Hebrew is really a good one, I think. It's one I'm very excited to do. However, I want you to understand something. I'm going to assume that you have already studied the alphabet and that you know the alphabet and the vowels and so on and so forth. I'm just going to pick up by reading Hebrew straight out of the Masoretic text, the Genesis text. We'll start with Genesis, duh. The reason why, there's a lot of good websites that will teach you the alphabet. It'll only take a couple of hours to learn it and learn the letters and vowels yourselves so that I can read Hebrew. A lot of you have asked, we don't know how Hebrew is pronounced, so I think by reading it quietly or slowly and carefully and showing it to you, and I'll have a stick and I'll point to each one of the different Hebrew words as I read it, and then that way you can follow along and you can hear it pronounced and so on and so forth. But now you have to understand one of my assumptions. I get very excited when I study the scriptures because I think they are the greatest intellectual as well as spiritual challenge that we have. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous to study them. You can't get the real meaning, the depth and the breadth in the scriptures unless you go to the languages, the Hebrew, the Greek, and the Aramaic. English translations are just that, translations. And the translation is an interpretation. So I think by going to the original Hebrew ourselves, it's much stronger. But as ideas come to me while I'm reading, I'm going to share those ideas with you. So there will be a little bit of repetition, I suspect. And then I'll keep trying to read the Hebrew to you. But as ideas present themselves, because of some of the doctoral dissertations I'm reading and some of the scholarly books and all, I want to share those insights with you as well. I want to elaborate on why I think the Hebrew scriptures are so darn interesting and exciting to study and read. Now, I go with the scholarship. These men have given their lives. I love the Hebrew analysis of the scholars. They give you added knowledge and depth as to the meaning of Hebrew. Genesis chapter 1 is still being written about, trying to explain its meaning in light of other cultures, other sources that have been found, like Ras Shamra and the Ugaritic texts, the Canaanitish and Phoenician materials, the Babylonian materials, the Assyrian materials, the Sumerian materials, the Gilgamesh epic. I mean, there's just thousands of pages written on this topic alone. I could produce 1,000 videos on Genesis chapter 1 all by itself. I'm not going to, but as I find ideas, I'm just going to freewheel it. I'm just going to elaborate with you, talk to you about it, and share it with you, and then I'll go back over the Hebrew, so that I want you to have in your mind an image of a slow upward spiral. We're going to learn biblical Hebrew together. And in the process, we're also going to learn what various different interpretations people have had on Hebrew and study it that way also. Because that's important, because it gives us greater depth and breadth. It helps us appreciate the Hebrew even stronger than we already do. And that is important to do. The scriptures are really exciting. Sometimes the way people have taught them is not very exciting, unfortunately. But they're never dull. I'm going to share with you lots of surprises in the scriptures based on the Jewish rabbis I've studied, the Zoharic exegesis. See, even that word, exegesis, it's a scholarly word to make us sound intelligent, like we know what we're talking about, you know. Exegesis just means the bringing out of the meaning of the Hebrew. Trying to grasp what it meant to those ancient people, as opposed to us putting our modern interpretation onto it. So I'm not going to necessarily find the one correct interpretation. That's not my interest. I just want to share with you ideas on how others have found meaning in the texts, and how perhaps it can help you understand some things that you've had questions about before. I know I find when I compare the different various traditions, it's very, very helpful to me. It's very interesting to do. Something else I want you to be familiar with and at least be aware of is there's probably going to be some repetition, because as I read a verse or two of Hebrew and as I translate it and share with you the translation and all, and then I get an idea. Sometimes I get carried away. I mean, I cross-reference my library through various books, so I have several books in mind at one time, and if I don't have the sources, then I'll get them for another video. But what I'll do is I'll elaborate on an idea or two, and then I'll get back to the Hebrew text, and I'll probably repeat the verse before and verse after. So some videos I will only get one verse of Hebrew read and studied, and other videos, we may even get 6 or 7 or 8 verses of Hebrew read and studied and learned. The rabbis teach that when you really want to learn something, you repeat it 101 times. Now, I have read the first chapter of Genesis in Hebrew and English 101 times. It works. It's a pretty impressive system. It takes a commitment of time, though, but, Hebrew, I consider Hebrew to be a holy language. So, considering that Hebrew is a holy language, if you have that attitude that I'm going to learn something new in the Scriptures every day, and that this holy language it's a privilege to study it and read it and learn it. If you have that attitude, then you can make great strides and progress in understanding Hebrew and appreciating a better understanding of the Scriptures, which is my whole intent and purpose anyway of all my YouTube videos. I mean, I get excited about the book of Abraham and the facsimiles and the Egyptian culture and the ancient Akkadians and the Hebrew and the Joseph Smith papyri and all of this wonderful material, the New Testament Greek. That's what else I'll do is as I find parallels and ideas from the Septuagint, that's the Greek Old Testament, or the Vulgate, the Latin, or even the German. I've got Luther's German Bible and all. Then I'll go ahead and present those and just share them with you. I'll be ad-libbing a lot, is what I'm going to be doing, but we're going to be learning Hebrew. I'll focus on Hebrew. But I'm going to be bringing in a lot more. It's not just me simply reading by rote Hebrew for you to repeat and learn like a boring classroom class. I will bring some new information to the Scriptures and some excitement on why it's so enjoyable to learn the Scriptures. So this is how I'm going to approach it. And if you guys have any ideas or suggestions on how I can make it simpler for you to understand, let me know. You can leave comments on the videos, of course, as you've always been doing. Just understand one thing: I don't allow any swearing on my YouTube video site. So, I mean, if you don't like what I'm doing or whatever, don't start calling me a bunch of names and don't start twitting other people and all. I'm not going to make fun of any religions. I know I'm somewhat hypocritical because I've twitted a few people too. I understand that. But swearing is just not going to happen. So I want a respectful, decent, good discussion, and we can all learn together. We're all in this together. We're all here on this earth life trying to figure it out too. So that's my approach to this. And so with what little I can share, if I can help you gain an appreciation for the power and the beauty of the Scriptures through their languages, then I'm going to count my life a success. Because that's fun. It really is. So here we go. Get ready for your first lesson in reading Hebrew.